You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia. Tune in every Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time and 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Transformation Talk Radio.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The ecosystem approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. Today's show is very personal for us. We take care of my mother-in-law, that would be Jason's mom, who is 91 years old and functionally deaf and has dementia. We do this while working full-time doing this show and talking to clients as well. There are some things we have figured out about communication and truly caring for someone that will surprise and maybe even shock you. If you're caring for someone young or old with special needs, or a parent that doesn't have special needs, that's okay. You have to listen to this show. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, let's tell the audience about the story about your mother coming to live with us. I'm going to hand this one to you.
This happened really fast, actually.
It did.
We got a call from a neighbor who basically said, "Hey, your mom's struggling, to take care of your dad." And then apparently someone did a home health visit. I guess it came from the county, and it was a PT that came out and said, "Hey, she told this to my mom, you can't handle him anymore."
Yeah.
And long story short, she called 911. They took him to a skilled nursing facility, and he died a couple weeks later. And so, we knew this would happen eventually. We didn't know really the care. She's a 2 with a 1 wing. If you know the Enneagram, when we call, it's always, "Oh, everything's fine, dear."
Exactly. Yes.
Everything's okay. And
yes. You don't have anything to worry about.
Yes. Don't worry about me. And how are things going with you? And she didn't really want to hear what's going on with us either. She just wanted everything's fine. If everything's fine, then everything's fine. And that was her
exactly
her happy place.
Exactly.
So my sister went out and took her back.
Brought her back to us.
California.
Yes.
We both kind of live in the same area. My sister and I in California, Bay Area at the time. And then we went back and took her back with us and packed up the house
to clean up the house. That's right.
Got it sold. And then for us, we really didn't, it wasn't a long drawn out discussion. It
just happened.
It was the right thing to do.
And we knew it.
We knew it was, she would have to be with us, and she needed to be with us. We felt.
Right. Well, and there was one small argument. She told us that she didn't want to go. She didn't want to come to California until she cleaned up the house. And I have to tell you, she'd still be there cleaning up the house. And that was 9 years ago.
Yeah, my dad was kind of a hoarder.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm getting at is that it was the only real resistance that she gave us. And the part that I'm getting at is that she had always been the caregiver herself, and she didn't want anyone having to caregive for her. And
if you understand a 2 with a 1, that's very common. They want to be the heroes, the caregivers, the person that
exactly
is relied upon, not vice versa.
Exactly.
So what's so special about what we do with Mom?
Right.
We've been applying the ecosystem approach by using a refined intuition,
correct,
evolved consciousness to talk to Mom. And the reason I say refined intuition and evolved consciousness, because we're doing it at very, very high levels, and it's not an easy thing, but we're just going to tell you how we're doing it, so we're doing this show in 2 parts. tomorrow we're filling in for Dr. Pat at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Correct.
And this will be a part 2 of this.
Right.
We're going to talk to you about some stuff that we're doing that's really kind of amazing.
Yes.
But we've learned that the difficulty with caregiving comes from the intersection and the conflict of emotional stories and the negative emotions that come up as a result.
Well, and so
that sounds almost too academic.
Exactly. And so what Jason is trying to say is what we've learned is, and this is, by the way, we had no idea what we were in for, but what we've learned is how to read his mother, what she needs, not only in the moment, but for, I'm going to say, the rest of the day. And we've learned that by using our intuition, i.e., with the help from the ecosystem approach, what we've learned is how to make the best of the situation and also help her be the best that she can be in these last few years of her life.
And the way we do that,
there you go.
This is the main point. We go around her inability to hear.
Yeah.
You know, she has a cochlear implant, but she's just basic information like, you know, is it time to leave? Yes, it's time to leave. You need to get a better coat on, that sort of thing. We
Right.
don't talk about the state of the world. We don't talk about, you know,
No.
how to change the world, that sort of thing. And her dementia, we go around her inability to hear and her dementia, which she can't remember anything afterwards. She's losing a part of her consciousness.
Right.
And talk to her at the highest level of her essence. Now, some of you, if you haven't been listening to us before, you don't know what that means exactly, but it's your essence. We call your essence what most people call their soul, but we use it in a very functional way.
Right. Be very practical about it.
And we see it with great detail.
Yes.
So we go around her unconsciousness and talk to that place that's still alive.
Correct.
And say, this is what's going on. This is why you're here. We've talked to her about her purpose, and we've clarified that for her in relation to her emotional story.
Correct.
And again, if you haven't listened to us before, your emotional story is how you felt, what your emotions were as you grew up.
Correct.
It's not about what happened to you. It's about how you felt about what happened
Correct.
to you. And we're putting those two together because now we have this family. It's the three of us.
Yes.
And it's not just my emotional story or her emotional story, which
mine's involved as well. And in the next segment, we're going to talk about that more, about how mine is involved, and mostly because I am the main caregiver. Well, I'm talking about female to female caregiver, and there's things that need to be taken care of, and that are very practical in an everyday thing. But the point, what Jason's talking about is when our emotional stories, we don't realize how much our emotional stories from our past are in our everyday lives today.
Well, and here's the other part.
Okay.
If you're familiar at all with dementia, there's a lot of hallucinations, delusions,
right,
and
obsessive compulsive.
Especially with my mother, it's part of her story. She's very obsessive compulsive.
Correct.
We see the energy of those things.
Yes.
Now, if you talk to a medical professional, they'll talk about hallucinations, but for them, what they do, the way most medical professionals deals with hallucinations is dulls the part of your brain that creates an opening for those things.
She doesn't need to be any more dulled at all with anything.
And so the way we deal with it is we see them
and clear them
as energies.
Exactly.
And entities, and we clear them.
Correct.
And it's been amazing.
Yes, exactly.
She's a couple times a night she would wake up screaming, and
she's done that.
We'd go in there and just clear that negative energy, and we were able to identify it and clear it
and calm her right down. She goes back to sleep, and sometimes she'll say, "What are you doing here?"
Well, it's amazing,
because she has no idea what's going on.
Exactly, and it works.
Yes,
it works. This is if you struggle with hallucinations, delusions, all the things that happen with dementia, anger that just comes up.
Oh yeah.
We see them as energies, and we start to clear them, and it completely opens up how we can do caregiving in a way that is functional for all three of us, and actually serving a purpose for not only her, but for you and I.
Exactly. So if you are a caregiver, and if you're a full-time caregiver, I'm talking about 24/7 caregiver. Bottom line is that this is something that actually works, because I am a full-time caregiver.
As
and
well as a full-time,
I work, yes,
with as a teacher for UTUE and for the ecosystem approach.
exactly.
But when we put it all together, people have said to us, "Hey, you guys, I don't know what you're doing, but it's amazing."
Well, yeah, and by the way, we've had professionals tell us,
Home health people come in and say,
correct,
"Oh my gosh, you guys are, we can't add,
yeah,
add
there's
anything.
nothing more we can do for you here.
Everything
You're doing
that
it all.
we've already done and more."
Right.
So, but here's the bottom line:
Okay.
we have fun.
We do.
I mean, this is so uncommon, but as a group, the three of us, when we get together with other people, which we haven't done during the pandemic,
Too much, but yes,
but our house is alive
all the time.
We have 2 dogs. They love her. It's part of the ecosystem that we've created for her. That makes it a lot of fun.
Yes.
And we love our dogs. We love my mom, and we joke with her and we have fun.
Right.
And every day we're laughing, and and it's not, we're telling jokes, but they're easy, and
Exactly.
she does really, really well.
Exactly.
So we're going to talk some more about this. This is going to be a fascinating show.
So stick around.
Stick around.
But Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Applying the ecosystem approach with refined intuition to go around a lack of consciousness is extremely valuable and even essential.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the emotional story of the caregiver and the person receiving care is essential for good outcomes.
Correct.
And dark energy will be a factor in caregiving, especially when a person does not have consciousness. And we're going to talk some more about that. Ooh, that's a biggie.
Will. Yes.
And the ecosystem approach shows you how to uncover the emotional story and develop refined intuition and survive as a caregiver.
Love it. In the next segment, we're going to talk about the most important part of caregiving that everyone misses. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the most important part of caregiving that everyone misses. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Jason, what exactly is the most important part of caregiving that everyone misses?
It's guilt and all the emotions around guilt, like obligation, promises that are connected to guilt, misconceptions about life that create guilt, ideas about family and loyalty can, oh my gosh, they wreak havoc with how people deal with caregiving in any sort of rational way. And when that guilt is overflowing, which is an energy, it's an emotion that can be cleared. Okay. You can't talk your way out of guilt. You can't go to a support group and to rid yourself of guilt,
or to be a friend with guilt.
Yes. It's something that you really have to clear.
Exactly.
And
by the way, I'm going to jump in. You don't realize, most of us, in fact, I don't know anybody who realizes how much guilt is a part of your everyday life. And in fact, I have a story. I struggle to tell this. It's not a story. It is part of my life, but I struggle with it because the guilt about it was devastating to me, and I never even realized it. I grew up with it. In fact, there's never a time in my life that I didn't have this guilt that I'm talking about connected to family. And I've talked about it a little tiny bit. I grew up with a mentally disabled sister. She was 2 years younger than I am. And after we grew up, a ways, the highest level of her awareness and abilities was about a 3-year-old. And by the way, that was on a good day. And she did not have good days all the time. She had epilepsy, and
So she had seizures.
she had seizures, and she
How
would have,
serious were those?
well, she had some that were just minor. Sometimes she'd just drop off and then she'd come right back. And then other times she'd have the grand mal seizures, which the grand mal seizures would, first off, they would fill the room. Let me just say it that way. And I remember being about 4, maybe 5. I don't know if I'd gone to school yet. And I already knew how to, end quote, dial the phone. And by the way, that is a true statement, dial the phone. We didn't have 911 at the time. There was only an operator. And so I would dial the operator. That was part of my job. I dialed the operator, and I knew I had to give my name, my full name, my address, and tell them, of course, my sister's name. Well, everybody in our community knew, and all the firemen knew us. They knew me by name. I used to embarrass me when they'd come to school and do the fire awareness week, that kind of thing. But that's beside the point. My point is that I was 4 and 5 years old, and I'm calling, using the operator to save my sister's life. I mean, it was embedded in me. There was no question. I had to do it.
It created a burden.
Oh,
and
this
is what we're talking about. We're talking about guilt in this segment.
Exactly.
And we know that. So fast forward the story.
Okay.
Your mother got divorced and remarried.
And my stepfather, who turned out to be one of the greatest guys I've ever known. And he had this objectivity about him. And
he didn't have the guilt.
He did not. He could see it from the outside, but he did not have it. And
everybody in your family who grew up with it had that guilt and shame.
Exactly.
They carried that guilt and shame.
Exactly. And so what he did was he decided it was time for my sister to leave the home. And I have to tell you, it was like, oh my gosh, this can't happen. But
they had a special home for
people they like did that were mentally disabled. And so she got put into this home. And the most amazing thing of all was, well, I'm going to go forward a little bit and then I'm going to back up. My mother died from cancer. My mother carried this guilt her entire life, this guilt and the shame about having this child. And she handed that guilt and the responsibility of my sister. She said, I know I'm dying. It's up to you. You have to take care of your sister, because I know the rest of them can't do it the way you can.
Yeah, and so talk about, she's on her deathbed and she goes to you and says, you have to take the responsibility.
Right. And
there's no objectivity. There's no way that you can say, okay, Mom, let's talk about it. Don't die just for a few minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hold on there. We need to talk about this.
And what do you do with this?
And those kind of deathbed requests, obligations, demands. Oh, the shame and guilt. And I'm going to change the subject just a little bit, but we've talked about starseeds. How your mother was a starseed, yes. You're a starseed.
But she died without ever doing her purpose.
And not even close.
Not even close.
This completely consumed her life. And
exactly.
This negative energy around this whole situation,
yes,
was part of the mark that we've talked about before.
Of a starseed. Exactly.
That it's kept her from doing anything of importance, and it was all consuming.
It was, and by the way, if my mother tried to step out in any way, shape, or form, my sister would conveniently have a grand mal seizure, and the fire department would be at the house.
And we're going to talk about this in tomorrow's show. Yes. That Patricia, even as a child, saw, because she had that intuition as a child, that there was a consciousness that Bonnie had that was beyond her, that 3-year-old label.
And
no one else saw it.
I could see it, but nobody else saw it. It was incredible. So let's
bring it back to the
okay.
reality.
Okay.
You need to understand the personal story of the caregiver and the triggers that are present.
Exactly.
So when Patricia's helping with my mom, she does most of it. I acknowledge that. and um, my mom triggers her because it takes her back to her childhood.
Well, it does. And I never realized that that part of my life was still there. But I want to say a positive thing here.
Okay.
One of the things that my sister, I would go home from school and every day, and American Bandstand would be on. Yes, I'm telling my age. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it was a television show and it was a dance party, is what it was. And there was popular music of the day. Well, my sister, anybody who was around my sister for more than 5 minutes, knew that music was a major part of her life, and it was also a major part of mine. I would walk through the door. My mother would say, Patty, you need to take care of your sister. Okay. I would set everything down. I would turn the TV on, and there would be American Bandstand. And how I entertained my sister was I would dance with her while she was in a wheelchair. I would sing to her, and it was the happiest hour of her entire day.
In our vernacular, she was giving her life force, even though you didn't know what
I
that
had
was.
no idea, but what I was doing was I was giving her life force, and I was helping her um, uh, be a little more part of the family, as opposed to manipulating the entire family with her behavior. Because if she got bored, hence here would come a seizure. So my point that I'm getting at is,
well, it's not just boredom, and we're going to examine some of those motives before. But the point is that you created a structure.
I did,
just like we're creating now for mom.
Exactly.
That creates some happiness and some life and some.
And the other thing is when I see that his mom is struggling with, say, depression, or just because she's 91. I will sing and dance for her. By the way, the only voice she hears with any clarity, I'm talking about Jason's mom, is mine, because of the pitch. The pitch. And the point that I'm getting at is my sister taught me something to help others by entertaining and being singing and dancing. And like I said, still to this day, I can change the energy in the room, not only for me, but for those that are struggling with energy, just by singing and dancing, because I can see what's needed. Lightheartedness.
So the guilt, what we say is, don't let caregiving define you. But that's a strategy and technique. And I don't know how people would implement that. And the way you don't let guilt define you is start clearing it as an energy.
Exactly.
Start removing it, using the ecosystem approach to remove it as an energy, and then find out who you are
in the process.
The process, and who you are and how that relates to the person you're giving care to is essential to do it in a way that's appropriate for both of you.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to be the way it's defined now is, a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to sacrifice myself. Your mother did this on behalf of the person I'm caring for. Exactly. It shouldn't be that way. It's not supposed to be that way. And there are ways around that. So even if caregiving is all consuming, you still have to find yourself, and you do that with the energy process of the ecosystem approach.
Exactly. So Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Always clear guilt so you can be objective about your caregiving and who you're caregiving for.
Correct.
Clear to uncover your triggers. Oh my gosh, we'll talk some more about that.
Yes.
And then clear to remove the sensitivity to them and the hurt underneath.
Yes.
And using clearing for your own evolution to uncover your purpose is essential to avoid getting lost.
Yes.
Being lost in caregiving. And the ecosystem approach shows you how to clear guilt and other emotions that get in your way and find your own purpose while you're being a caregiver.
And I do want to say this. If you are a caregiver, if you are, that is your job, by the way, my hat is off to you. But if you're a caregiver, a full-time caregiver, my hat is off to you as well. But I want you to understand that the one that does it as a profession, they get to go home. You do not. If you start clearing your stuff today, you will find ways to take care of you first, so you can take care of that person that you're caring for in a much better way, without guilt, shame, and angst, and even anger. So with that said, in the next segment, we're going to talk about how we cope with caregiving that gets really, really hard, especially during the pandemic. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how we cope when caregiving gets really, really hard, especially during the pandemic. We are married intuitives with over 20 years experience who created the ecosystem approach for you. This is much different because we see human beings as ecosystems that need to be restored instead of programmed. We show you how to take an energy approach for internal discovery that is rational, practical, and useful for everyday life. Okay, Jason, are you going to tell our secrets to the audience? You know, caregiving can be really hard, especially during the pandemic. You know, explain how we've coped so far and how we still are coping with all of it.
Well, it's still very hard,
Mhm.
and for us on a day-to-day basis. And I have to be honest about that. And we're constantly clearing.
We
First,
are.
our own emotions.
Yes.
The difficulty, because mom's she's out to lunch in a way. I mean, it doesn't bother her.
No.
You know, she's so self-absorbed, which just happens with dementia. But there's a part of us. I'm going to digress just for a minute.
Okay.
We see that if you look at her emotional story, it's exactly what she wants.
It's exactly it.
She has no responsibility. She doesn't have to worry about anything.
No.
She has this thing. She's always had this thing about being right. And she doesn't have to worry that she's ever going to be wrong, because if she's wrong, she can't remember it.
Yeah.
You know, the dementia works for her really well.
It does.
And the hearing, she doesn't have to hear if she's wrong, because she doesn't hear that well anyways.
Well,
so you couldn't describe to her that she should have been doing this instead of doing this. She doesn't want to hear it.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and in
so
a way,
it takes a creative
yes,
ability.
But the point is that in a
Okay.
way, it's perfect for her.
Yes.
And so we understand that that's understanding her story. But
Right.
how do we deal with the difficulty?
Right. Well,
And
we do a lot of clearing.
We do a lot of clearing. And I know, and we were trying to make this point in the last two segments,
Okay.
the primary difficulty is not the day-to-day stuff, because we figured that out.
Yes.
We've been really creative.
Yes.
The day-to-day difficulty is when it triggers one or both of us,
Our past.
and those triggers come up, and we're angry, bitter, resentful, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And that's when the difficulty happens.
Yes.
It's not the actual mechanical process of taking care of her. At least, you know, and frankly, we don't have to. She can go to the bathroom by herself.
She can do all that. She's
can
still
walk.
functional.
Yeah, she's still functional in a lot of respects. She
Mhm.
can't figure out what to wear when she goes out, you know. But and she
A lot of
she
women
can get
can't,
herself
yeah.
dressed, but there's a lot of things missing there, and she'll
Sometimes.
you know,
Yes.
forget
Yes.
her glasses or whatever. But anyway,
Yes.
that's, you know, we all kind of do that. But the difficulty is those triggers. And
Yes.
the way you get rid of those triggers
Is
is clearing them.
Yes.
And
exactly.
and it's not just a matter of clearing the anger in the moment. You have to understand your emotional story.
Well,
And that's part of what we do with the ecosystem approach. You go inward and say, okay, I've always struggled with this. And frankly, the things that we're clearing, and the reason we're so effective with our clearing, is because it's not just the superficial, oh, I'm angry. It's I'm angry because this, and this.
Exactly.
And that really hurt me as a child. Or
Well, I need to say that I think we said it, but I'm going to repeat it if I didn't. We had no idea how his mother would trigger the stuff from my past, the caregiving that I gave my sister from my past. And by the way, my sister lived for about 15 years longer after my mother had died, and I was her main. She still lived in a home, but I was the main responsible one,
and it was a burden.
And it was a huge burden. And my point that I'm getting at is that I had no idea that all of that anger and resentment and even those fears and guilts and shames, I had no idea that they still were there until his mother showed up. In other words, there was years, okay, that I didn't have to worry about anything. I didn't even have to think of it. And then all of a sudden, and she can say a word, she can say a word in a certain tone, she can do an action in a certain way. And it almost takes my breath away at the energies, the emotions that come up. And so I am so grateful to the clearing. I'm so grateful to the ecosystem approach for making, I'll say it this way. So because I don't want to be the crazy person. I don't want to. And sometimes the things from my past, if they're triggered today, make me crazy.
Well, and as we clear our past, our emotional story,
Yes.
we've been saying this in all of our shows. It helps us evolve. That evolved consciousness that we're going to talk about, you're going to be blown away. You have to listen tomorrow.
Yeah,
both of these
yes,
shows are
yes.
recorded, so listen. If you can't listen at the right time,
Yes,
you can listen to the recording. But
exactly.
it's what we've doing this with evolved consciousness and refined intuition is amazing. And we
Correct.
have that because we've been clearing our emotional story.
Exactly.
You know, it's not just the
So
clearing
start
itself.
today.
Yes.
Start today. In the next segment, we're going to be doing the clearing. So
here's the other thing. You
okay,
know,
go ahead.
The compulsions and obsessions that she has. You know, she has to do things a certain way. She carries around her watch. It's sort of like a binky, and for her it looks like she goes out and walks every day, which is really helpful to her. But she looks at her watch and to make sure she goes. But it's kind of silly because she can't remember how many times she's walked anyways. She'll go out there for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, and then she'll come back
and say she's done, or she'll go out there for an hour and say she's only been walking for 5 minutes.
Yes.
So those are the things
like
that
she's even listening to it.
Exactly, yeah. Or even looking at it because she can't remember from 1 minute to the next where she started. We'll say it that way. And of course, all three of us have laughed at this and that sort of thing. But the compulsion of carrying that watch is really interesting. Not to mention, I see because of her story, she was a registered nurse and she has that watch. That watch was everything. That was someone's lifeline. And she sees it as being her lifeline now.
Well, and one of the things that we see, and we're going to talk more about this in the negative energy, but she has a knack, just like your sister did, to get in our way. Always, like, it's always right before our show. We have our show at 1 o'clock. That's a kind of a hard deadline.
Yes.
We work with clients and we have an appointment, so that's kind of a hard deadline. And she knows how to get in our way. She'll have like, oh, I can't find something and it'll be a big deal all of a sudden, or she'll have some sort of some worry or frustration or
that she wants to talk about for an hour.
Yes. Right before something we have to get done, and there's no coincidence. It's strange about that. So should we do the key points and then tell people how to clear?
Sure. Okay. Wait a minute. I can't resist. Jason, what are the key points of this segment?
Always clear the negative energies around caregiving versus strategies and techniques. The energy works, the strategy and techniques.
It's phenomenal. Yes. Actually,
identify and clear the emotional triggers for the caregiver. Those emotions are always first. Clear those first. Identify the patterns for yourself and then the person who needs care, and clear them before they happen. We've been doing that and it's been amazing.
It really has.
You know, we know that, for example, we know that she gets in the way right before
the show.
We've been clearing that so she doesn't do it, and it's been relatively successful.
Exactly, and rather interesting. Today was the best it's ever been.
Yes. The ecosystem approach shows how to identify and clear emotions that are especially relevant for caregiving.
And by the way, everybody at some point in your life, you are going to have to do some sort of caregiving, even if it's for
children.
Yourself.
Yes, children's a biggie. You know, we both. You know, but they grow up.
Yes, they do. They certainly do.
So
and they get in your way too. So Jason, can you tell everyone how to do how to use the ecosystem approach?
Very quickly, you don't have to have a special posture. A lot of people think of the lotus position. No, you can stand, sit, lay down. You can be walking. And so when we say "and to eliminate," just think in your mind's eye, in your imagination, gather up all those things to eliminate, whether veils and illusions, barriers, specific emotions. Gather those up and blow them into the processor. I know Jacob's going to put that on the screen for you.
Yes.
And just blow them into that, and they get processed, so they come out neutral. They go in negative in the top,
Well,
process in the front,
and I want to jump in and say, number one,
neutral in the front. Yeah.
neutral in the front. Think about it. There's so much pollution around us all over the place. We don't think about energy pollution, but energy pollution is one of the biggest pollutions.
The worst. Yeah.
It is one of the worst. Absolutely. And so if you're clearing your negative energy and putting it into the processor, you're not only helping you, you're helping everyone around you, but you're also helping the environment. And that is really, really, really important. And that just brings up the next part. After we do the clearings, then we're going to activate life force. Life force is the most powerful energy that anyone has access to. I don't care who you are. It is the most powerful, the most important. And we use life force energy all the time. All of us do. But when you understand it even better, and the ecosystem approach helps you with that, what we do is we activate life force, we call upon it, we ask it to come in through the top of our head and go all the way down our bodies. And then, but we stop it at the tips of our toes. We do not want to send any negative energy into the earth. There's enough negative energy into the earth. That's why we created the processor. And like I said, Jacob's going to put it up, and it helps everything. But using this life force energy gives you the power and clarity that you need and want to do everyday life and living. And it is phenomenal. If you're having a bad day, or you're trying to heal from something, when you activate that spot with life force, that is true healing, because that's where that energy should be in the first place. So, anything else we need to say right now, Jason?
Let's
all right.
Next one.
So stay tuned. When we come back, we're going to do clearings to help with all things related to caregiving. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to do clearings to help with all things related to caregiving. And even if you don't think this applies to you, do the clearings anyway. It's really the clearings are cumulative, as you say.
When you start removing energy, it accumulates.
Yes.
The removal accumulates, which is really helpful to you.
Truly.
So here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the barrier, so I can know the most important thing for me as a caregiver is clearing my negative emotions.
Take a breath.
And by the way, everybody's a caregiver in some way, whether you have a goldfish, whether you have kids, whether you have a family, a husband, a spouse.
Or if you don't have any of that, you have a caregiving to the place that you live in,
where
caregiving,
you work.
Exactly, and even to yourself.
How many people out there could be considered a work wife that's listening right now?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly
anyway,
right.
so here.
All right. So, and with that said, we're going to shorten it a little bit, and to eliminate the barrier, so I can see that those without consciousness attract dark energies, which can be cleared. And what he's really talking about there, the example is, if somebody around you has dementia, they are not conscious of negative energies or even positive energies, but they can often attract those dark energies.
We see that with OCD,
absolutely,
schizophrenia,
yes,
all sorts of mental disorders,
right,
even autism.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's and little kids.
Yes.
So dogs.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so clear the blocks so you can see that there's negative energy there, and it can be cleared. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any intense feeling of worry, anxiety, and frenzy that is inevitable from caregiving. Just clear it. Take a breath.
And to eliminate any feelings of fear, hurt, and shame and responsibility that are common with caregiving. Don't forget to clear the guilt and the shame. Take a breath.
and to eliminate the barrier so I can know that there is a consciousness present even when there seems like there is none.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, tomorrow, you got to listen tomorrow.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And to eliminate any feelings of fear and terror and responsibility that I'll do something wrong and hurt the recipient,
The person you're caring for.
the person you're caring for. Clear that, because that can set you up to do exactly what you don't want to do. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see the patterns of negative behavior and then clear them specifically.
Mm-hmm.
If these things keep coming over and over again,
Exactly.
use an energy approach as opposed to a strategy technique. It's far
Correct.
better.
Yes. And far better and definitely more efficient. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see the behaviors that trigger me and create a strong negative reaction. By the way, this is one of the biggest things that I get stuck in, because I'm not only clearing what's going on with between Jason's mother and myself, but I'm also clearing the stuff that's from my past. And when I can see that, when I take that breath and say, okay, life force energy, help me out here, it's so much easier to clear. Take a breath, everybody.
And to eliminate any intense anger I have about being a caregiver and the intense anger that follows.
Mm-hmm. Take a breath. And to eliminate any resistance I have from clearing constantly, consistently, and specifically due to the overwhelm. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see there is a special power using intuition to talk to someone's essence. Oh my gosh, it's an amazing power.
Oh, it's
perfect. And the more you start doing the ecosystem approach, you can refine your intuition to do that.
Exactly. So, and to eliminate the barriers so I can know myself and my triggers that affect me with my caregiving. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the numbness or blocks I have to my purpose so I don't lose myself as a caregiver.
Take a breath. Yes. And to eliminate the barriers so I can see possibilities for me as a caregiver to clear the negative energies. It's in the best interest of everyone. Take a breath.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see the opportunities for me to develop myself using the ecosystem approach as a caregiver.
Love it. Take a breath. Jason, I'm going to activate some life force. All right, here we go. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force energy so I can be happy and healthy and creative, but also hear and know what Jason and Patricia are talking about, so I can start using the ecosystem approach today, not just as a caregiver, but for every single thing in my life. Nice and easy. Activate that life force. Let it come in, let it go all the way through your body to the tips of your toes. Stop it right there, turn it around, and let it take away any negative energy that you're stuck in at the moment. Take a breath.
And to activate life force so I can have hope for my personal evolution even while I'm caregiving.
Take a breath. Let it go through that body. Nice. And to activate life force so I can trust and understand that I have a lot of power over dark energies that can be hanging around. You don't need them. Use the clearing to get rid of them. Take a breath.
And to activate life force so I can decide to put myself first, so I can be a better caregiver and focus on my purpose and grow.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And to activate life force so I can be happy and healthy, creative, and have fun, be able to love myself, love the person that I'm caring for, and know that today is the best day I can choose to start using the ecosystem approach, not only for me, but for those that I care for and the world around me. Take a nice breath, pull it in, and blow it out. Jason, tomorrow we're doing a special show.
Tomorrow is part 2
Okay.
of this show.
Okay.
And it's really exciting to me because we're going to talk about more specifically how we go around someone's lack of consciousness
Okay.
to their highest levels and clear them, talk to them about their purpose,
Okay.
just talk to them in general. And I'm not talking about, oh, how's it going today? I'm
Yeah.
talking about why are you here? Why are you staying healthy? Why are you deciding to stay versus leave? I mean, we know that mom could basically die anytime.
Yes.
On the other hand, she seems to be getting better and better and better. And we've been talking to her about why she's here, what she's going to do,
Correct.
and how she's going to be of service to us.
Yes. Which she has been.
She's always said, I don't want to be a burden to you guys.
Right.
I don't want to be a burden to my family, but she doesn't know how she is or how she's not. So we're telling her,
Yeah. Exactly.
this is how you can be of help, and this is how you can't be of help.
Exactly.
So, and then the dark energy. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Working just identifying this dark energy, whether someone has schizophrenia, OCD, autism, even alcoholics and drug addicts, people that they lose their consciousness,
right,
and they become empty vessels for dark energy to come in. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Oh my gosh. So
Jason, what about the ecosystem approach? Tell us about it.
So if you want more of this, here's what you do. Go to our website right now, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up for our free section. You'll get a weekly newsletter that has all the clearings. Do those every single week. Listen to our show every week. Do the clearings with us. Do the clearings every day with the newsletter that you get. And keep listening, because we take all sorts of different topics and apply the ecosystem approach to it.
Exactly. And one of the reasons we do that is to show how versatile the ecosystem approach is.
It applies to everything.
It applies to everything. Jason, what about Facebook?
Go to our Facebook page, theecosystemapproach.org, and like us. We have our videos there. It's you can watch us by a video as opposed to listening to us. A lot of people like that. And leave a comment if you like.
Okay, but what if somebody wants to contact us directly?
You can contact us directly with hello@theecosystemapproach.org.
And you can make suggestions for shows that you'd like to hear from us. You can also ask questions. We would be more than happy to answer them. So next week, that's not true. Please join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to be sitting in for Dr. Pat, and we always enjoy ourselves so much when we do her show. But also, stay with us and join us next Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific and 4 p.m. Eastern time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
Remember, your ecosystem is the most important one in the world.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.